My name is Ann Mackey, and I'm on the WELSNA Council. I'm the secretary, and it's my distinct honor to introduce Brianne Kluge. She is the home manager at New Beginnings in Milwaukee. They used to be in Colorado and recently have moved to Milwaukee. This is a home for mothers. She grew up in Marshall, Wisconsin, and graduated from Lakeside Lutheran High School in Lake Mills in 2009. She has a Bachelor of Science in Psychology with a Child and Adolescent Studies certificate, and she received that from UW Milwaukee. During her undergraduate career, she conducted an independent research project on stress and relaxation, and later worked as a researcher at Children's Hospital in the Pediatric Emergency Department. She currently lives in Cudahy, Wisconsin, and is a member of St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church in Wauwatosa. We often think of caring for a baby as a mother's natural instinct. In reality, raising a child requires an intricate combination of skills, instincts, and support systems. The ministry at New Beginnings was created to address a significant void in the pro-life rhetoric, the gap between saying no to abortion and providing opportunities for mothers to escape environmental influences to build a new beginning. Brianne will take a look at what this 20-plus year ministry entails, how we operate, what it is like in our new Milwaukee home, and what we can do together in service to God and others. And please welcome Brianne.
Thank you so much. I just have a handout here, and I'm just going to kind of pass this out. And actually, I'll just give you a stack, and you can pass it back.
Good.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about me, she basically covered exactly what I'm going to be talking about, so I'll just hop right into it here. Like she said, New Beginnings is a home for mothers. And in its simplest form, we're a program for single mothers that also has a housing component. So we are different than a lot of homeless shelters and temporary housing shelters in Milwaukee, in that we are a long-term program, where a mother can surround herself in a safe and positive environment for her and her baby, and then also grow spiritually and personally. So just to give you a little bit of history about New Beginnings, it did used to be located in Denver. We are an extension of Christian Life Resources, and Christian Life Resources formed as a national organization in May of 1983. A lot of different pregnancy counseling affiliates were actually calling for unity in their life issues ministry. So in those years, these pregnancy centers were kind of popping up all over the nation, and a lot of them had different perspectives, religious perspectives, and pro-life ideals. But their primary focus was the same, and that was to convince an abortion-minded woman not to have an abortion. While Christian Life Resources, they really wanted to choose a different approach. So they set out to use these life and family issues as bridges to talk about Jesus. They not only wanted to protect life, but then especially to talk about eternal life through Jesus Christ. So they opened up New Beginnings in 1993, and it did open up in Denver, Colorado, as an alternative to just saying, don't abort this baby. This was their proactive way of helping mothers who chose the pro-life choice. So a variety of opportune circumstances actually allowed the program to move from Colorado to Milwaukee. I was not involved in the program while it was in Colorado, and neither were any of my staff, so we're all completely new to this process. It's quite a learning experience, but I'll get into all that. So we're now located on Wisconsin Avenue, right across the street from Children's and Freighter Hospital. You can actually see where I used to work. I used to work at Children's Hospital for a very short period of time in the Pediatric Emergency Department. So I did work with a couple of nurses and doctors over there. And we're right on Wisconsin Lutheran College's campus. So if there are any WLC students in the room, which I'm sure there are, you can visit us anytime. We're within walking distance. So I'll just explain a little bit about how the building is set up. You can see in the picture, this is actually the building. This is the building that used to be rented out to WLC students. We've had several volunteers who come in and say, yeah, I used to live here, which I think is just really, really unique. But it is a 4-unit apartment building. So in the lower unit, they're each 2-bedroom apartments. So in this 2-bedroom apartment, this is where our office is located. We also have a commons area for the residents, a devotion area for the residents, and then a kitchen and a bathroom. And then in this apartment, this 2-bedroom apartment, we have 3 students from Wisconsin Lutheran College that are actually living in the apartment for free, and they get a $50 stipend once a month, so it's very good for students. I definitely wish that there was a program like that at UW-Milwaukee when I was going there. But they live in the building, and they are there for emergencies. So if anything goes awry in the middle of the night, they're going to be there to deal with those types of situations. In the upper apartments, 2 bedrooms, we have room for 2 moms and 2 babies, 2 moms and 2 babies. So each mom will have her own bedroom, but then she does share a kitchen and a bathroom with another mother. And we'll get into that. I'll show you some pictures later of the housing that we actually have. So we primarily serve individuals who come from generational poverty. So many mothers who come to us are really locked into this cycle of dependency, and they want to make a change in their lives, but they really just don't know how. So our mission is to allow for a new beginning by helping a single mother to develop spiritually in God's Word, become a responsible citizen in society, continue her education, achieve self-sufficiency, and be a competent and loving Christian parent. It's a very long mission statement. There are a ton of huge points in that mission statement, especially when it comes to achieving self-sufficiency. So I'll kind of get into where we start. But I should mention that our residents do not need to be WELS, or even religious for that matter, to be accepted into the program. They just need to have a want and a desire to have a new beginning. So I have a little quiz here. It's very important as part of my job to know the differences between the knowledge and behaviors of those in poverty and those in middle class, because we are working primarily with individuals from poverty. So we'll do this very high school, college style, and we can raise our hands if you know this. How many of you know which grocery store garbage bins can be accessed for thrown away food? No, these are very weird questions. How many of you know how to get a gun even if you have a police record? Me either. How many of you know what to do when you don't have money to pay the bills? What about, and now some nurses are here, so how many of you know where the free medical clinics are? Okay, good, awesome. How many of you know how to move in 1/2 day? Got some college students. I knew how to move in 1/2 day when I was in college, now not so much. Yes, okay, awesome. How many of you choose to physically fight to solve your problems? Okay, good. I don't have to get in any fights today. How many of you value entertainment and relationships above all else? I know that some of us value relationships, but maybe not entertainment above all else. Okay. Next facts. How many of you know how to use a checking account, credit card, savings account? Okay. How many of you know how to get the best interest rates on a new car loan? How many of you know how to get a library card? Okay. How many of you know how to use most of the tools in the garage? Hammer, screwdriver?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. How many of you talk to your children about going to college, or if you don't have children, know how you would go about doing that? Okay. And what about using words in negotiation to solve your problems? Good. What about valuing work and achievement? I know that a lot of you would value those things. Okay. So the first point of this exercise is, first of all, to show that most of us are falling into this middle class category. And then, so naturally, it's just this assumption that everybody knows these things. So this green box here is the middle class category, and the purple box over there is the poverty category. Now, because most of us are falling into this green box, we think that it should be obvious that you use words in negotiation to solve your problems rather than physical force. It should be obvious that you should value work and achievement above certain types of entertainment and certain types of relationships. It should be obvious that you can just walk into a library and say, hey, I want a library card, and they'll give you a library card. But the reality of the situation is, if you didn't know a lot of the things in the purple box, then that really goes to show that we can't just naturally assume that everybody knows these middle class norms and rules. So it's really important for me to understand that as a part of my job. And this is something that I didn't think about, first coming into this. And as nurses, you may be working with individuals who come from generational poverty and just expect them to know certain things when they're coming into the hospital. But the reality of it is there are lots of hidden rules among middle class and poverty, and those hidden rules differ greatly. Okay, so because we're from this middle class, we just envision maybe a stereotypical type of resident. And a lot of the stereotypical residents that's imagined by many of our circles is someone who is a little bit like us. So white, you know, middle class, they maybe made a mistake and now they need a place to live in an effort to buy time. But the reality of the situation is that we rarely get women in that type of situation. We also rarely get women who are in this situationally poor category, and I threw the definition up there for you. So situational poverty is defined as a period of poverty that's caused by circumstance. So when maybe you have cancer and the medical bills are just building up and you can't pay for it, and so you find yourself in poverty. Or maybe you go bankrupt, something like that. Usually individuals in this situationally poor category have friends or family members that take them in, or they have these middle class norms that they can go out and successfully interview for a job. So our residents are the generationally poor, which is the complete opposite, and it's pretty clear what that means. That means that they're poor, their mom was poor, their grandmother was poor. Our residents are really adept at working the charity system. In fact, they know all the ins and outs way better than I do. So that's something that I'm working on learning currently. Our residents, past residents have maybe had 2 or more abortions in their past. Some can't tell you who the baby's father is. Drugs have definitely been a part of their past, if not still are a part of them. And so we're kind of left asking ourselves, well, what do all these residents have in common? They want Jesus in their lives? No, I mean, that's really not at the top of their priority list. What they really want is they just simply want a comfortable place to stay. That's all they're looking for. They're house jumping. They're going from house to house to house. Maybe they're on the street. Maybe they don't even have a couch to sleep on every night. So they're looking for this place to stay, and that's why we're here. We give them what they want, what's at the top of their priority list. But then along with that, we guide them towards these things that they really need, which is an education, spiritual guidance, counseling, all those types of things. So, what is the process to get into New Beginnings? Well, first of all, we need to make sure that the women are fitting our general criteria. A lot of women just call us on the phone, and we go through an initial phone screening with them. It takes about 5 minutes. We're just making sure that they are within the age range of 18 to 30. We do make a couple exceptions to this rule. They can be older than 30, but not younger than 18 because we can't take minors into the home. Single mothers, we also make sure that they're single moms who are facing challenges and finding support while they're pregnant. Therefore, they're most likely falling into this generationally poor category. We also make sure that they have 1 child in their custody that's less than 6 months, or they're pregnant with their first child. So a lot of the mothers that we have had come to us maybe have 6 kids, but a lot of those kids are not in their custody. Maybe they're pregnant with their 7th baby, and they're looking really truly for a new beginning for this baby, and they want to keep this baby. So I should mention, however, that if a woman is pregnant with twins, we do allow her to move into the home. In fact, one of our residents now is pregnant with twins. So we recently posted a status on Facebook, social media, that said 1 + 1 = 5. And now we have 2 residents and then potentially 3 babies, so it's pretty nuts. And then lastly, we're looking for women who really want to change their lives, really want a new beginning. Okay, so this is part of the handout that I gave you. If you didn't get one, there might be a couple of extras. But as a part of my job, it's also really important that I understand these differences in hidden rules, which we kind of touched on previously. But by understanding these differences in hidden rules, we can more easily ascertain maybe why certain situations escalate or why certain things happen in the home. So research shows that the culture of poverty actually doesn't provide success in the middle class, mainly because success in the middle class is mostly based on the self-governance of behavior. You really have to control your behavior, your thoughts and actions in the here and now. So we really want to work with our residents to teach them these hidden rules in the middle class in an effort to give them the tools and the resources that they need to break through the cycle of poverty. So I want to explore a couple of these in more detail. First of all, let's look at destiny and education. So during a mom's time at New Beginnings, we really want to show her that her destiny is not based solely on luck or chance, but rather the decisions that you make in the here and now. That's extremely important. In addition to that, we want to emphasize that education can in fact be a reality, especially in the form of vocational training. So we're really not looking to make our residents book smart. I don't care how many facts you can memorize. I was forced to memorize a lot of facts when I was in school. Facts are good, it's good for your memory to get facts, but that's really not what we're interested in with our residents. We're primarily interested and equipping them with the skills that they need to propel forward into a job that would allow them to be self-sufficient. So, because of these hidden rules, and I won't go over all of them in detail, but nearly all of our moms will resist the program at one point or another. If I was in a program like New Beginnings, I would be so thankful. Free education, free housing, everything I need for my baby, this is wonderful. I don't care what the person would be telling me to do, what rules I need to follow. I'd follow them because this is free. Our residents are not really thinking that way. So we can more easily understand this resistance when we reflect upon these differences in hidden rules, especially knowing that she values the present rather than thinking about how her decisions affect her future. So these differences in this chart also provide insight as to why New Beginnings is set up the way it is. So now I'll get into our program components. So our first component is our spiritual component, and this relates to these rules, the hidden rules of time and destiny. So we want to equip our residents with the spiritual tools and knowledge needed so that she can become the spiritual head of her household. And then also, we want her to feel responsible for her choices and decisions in the area. So in order to spiritually guide our residents, we do have them attend nightly devotion, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. at New Beginnings. It's led by a staff member. All paid staff members are WELS, so they lead the devotions based on WELS religion. And then we also require that our resident attends church every Sunday and provides proof that they've attended church in the form of a bulletin or a signed letter from a pastor. So they don't have to go to a WELS church every Sunday. They can go to any Christian church. A lot of them choose to go with their families. And then once a month, we require that we all go together to a WELS church, and we call that Friendship Sunday. And then we also require that our residents participate in individual Bible studies, which is just basically, it's kind of a worksheet that you would fill out in like a confirmation class. And it goes over just really the basics of the Bible. Okay, so the spiritual component of our program is really our top priority for a couple of reasons. First of all, I mean, as God's people, we really want to tell as many people we can as we can about Jesus. In addition to that, God's Word really provides this moral basis on which to live our lives. So when our residents begin to understand kind of what God did for them, they're going to be more likely to move forward in bettering their lives because they know that someone else is holding them accountable. It's not just staff members who are holding them accountable. And the reality is that once our residents kind of walk closer with God, they'll be able to conform their lives according to God's will, or that's our hope at least, which ultimately could result in societal transformation. So this concept of societal transformation is really why a Christian-based program component is really important. And you see a lot of programs in the Milwaukee area that are maybe similar to New Beginnings, but they're missing little key components. And we really hope that we have this all together with all of these components, but I think that the spiritual component is really a really important one. We also have a financial management component. This also relates to time and destiny, so good decisions now equal a better future later. So our residents typically come into the program with really poor finance management skills. It's one of the reasons why they're coming to us. So what we do is they're most likely going to be on government assistance because we're not having our residents work at all. We're only having them participate in educational services, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But so if they're getting $600 in government assistance, once a month, they're going to set aside one half of that, so $300. That goes into a savings account for them. And then at the end of the program, they graduate from the program, they get all that money back. Whether or not they graduate from the program, they get all that money back. We don't keep any of that money from them. Excuse me. And then if they're in the program for a long period of time and want to put money down on a car or pay for their own education or get something big for their baby or start a savings account for their baby, then we'll work with them, that money in that savings account, to do that. So it's a really unique way to kind of show the value of the savings account. Okay, so our educational component. We require that our residents participate in educational services. So the hidden rules of poverty really show that generationally poor individuals, they view education as unrealistic. It is valued, it is revered, just like it is in the middle class, but it's not seen as a reality. So we really want to show them that this can be a reality. So the first step would be literacy services if they're not there yet. Then GED. A lot of the residents, a few of the residents that come into the home dropped out of high school in 9th, 10th 10th grade still haven't completed their high school diploma, so GED is the first step. And then after that, we're looking to get them into tracks at MATC, tracks that would ultimately allow them to be self-sufficient. So this is going to be a long-going process. But we do have connections with the Adult Learning Center in Milwaukee, and they do an initial pre-test with the residents, so we can kind of customize our educational tracks based on that pre-test. Okay, and I wanted to just go over this misconception about education and poverty. A lot of us are probably really well versed in this misconception and maybe don't, believe in this misconception. But for years, and it's still very prevalent, is this notion that nearly all intelligence is inherited. There's this book out there, it's called The Bell Curve, and it falsely claims that individuals in poverty have an average IQ of 9 points lower than those in the middle class. And that really might be credible if IQ tests measured ability, but what they do measure is just acquired knowledge. They were originally set up to measure someone's success in school, so obviously that would have to do with acquired knowledge. So this obviously isn't a real IQ test, it just kind of illustrates the content of an IQ test. So like, what is grade 8 used for? What's the mean work of a bondsman? What's the difference between marriage and a common law relationship? We all know that those types of questions are based on acquired knowledge. So it's really important for us to recognize that our residents are in fact capable of achieving higher education and then act on that. So that is why, another reason why our educational component is so important. I threw a few quotes up there for you. Being in poverty is rarely about the lack of intelligence or ability, and many individuals stay in poverty because they don't know that there's a choice, and if they do, they don't have anybody to provide them with the resources to move forward in their lives, or someone to provide or teach them the hidden rules of the middle class. So that's why New Beginnings is around. Okay, and then we did a little bit of research on why education is so important. I know I keep digging into this education, but I think this is one of the major changes that we're making from how the program operated in Denver. In Denver, residents were required to either work or go to school. Now, we're not even allowing them to work, we're just having them focus solely on education. Education, being in the New Beginnings program and being a mother, that's a lot. So, one of the first reasons is an education is key to getting out of and staying out of generational poverty. The second is, how do you break the cycle? You educate the parents, especially the mothers. The educational level of mothers is the most important influence on the educational attainment of children. So this is really huge for us. We're not just looking to break the cycle of dependency for our mothers, but also for their children and then generations to come. That's really the dream. Better outcomes for children are a result of each year of parental education. And mother's education is a strong and consistent predictor of children's outcomes. All right, and then these last three program components are really thrown in to round out a mother's experience. So many of our residents are coming from really grim circumstances. During the interview process, I hear, a lot of stories. Sometimes our residents are breaking down and crying because they suffered from emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. So we do offer counseling services for the residents, and we offer that through Wisconsin Lutheran Child and Family Services. They actually come into the home and do counseling for our residents. So we don't require that our residents participate in these counseling sessions, but they are available for them, and we really do strongly encourage it. We also require that our residents attend a weekly group session on Thursday nights, and this is a session that we have a member from the community come in and teach some sort of class. So maybe a class on cooking, or parenting skills, or breastfeeding, prenatal care, the importance of vaccines. These are all things that nurses could potentially come in and talk about. If we don't have someone in the community set up to speak, then we do a fun activity, learn more about each other, or one of the assistant managers, her name is Beth, she has 3 children, so she can kind of work on those parenting classes with the residents as well. So throughout the program, we really encourage our residents to grow personally and then also develop these strong social skills. So we do this through day-to-day interaction, preparation for employment opportunities, and then also by discussing these differences in cultural norms. And a lot of that takes place at the group sessions. So I wanted to just touch a little bit more on this hidden rule of personality and language. Because understanding the key differences in language from poverty to middle class is really important in understanding how to interact with individuals from poverty, but also why certain situations may escalate. So it's important to note these differences may play a large role in why situationally poor individuals seem to have resources at the tips of their fingers, because they understand maybe how to negotiate, how to use their words and personality for achievement and stability, but on the other hand, someone from generational poverty may not have a good grasp on how to use language for these purposes. So as you can see under language, in poverty, language is used primarily for survival. It's the casual register. And I tried to find a video that really gave a good example of casual register and formal register. Couldn't find one, so I'll just give you a quick example here. I think we all kind of know what this is. Casual register is when you're talking to your friends. So like, hey dude, what's up? How you doing? You wouldn't talk that way during an interview or a presentation. So in the middle class, we use our formal register for negotiation. We do sometimes still use this casual register with our friends. It includes a lot of slang and stuff like that. But you'll see individuals from poverty using that casual register in all aspects of life. And going along with that, we all have these three voices in our heads that are constantly talking to us. I know I do in my head, and it might seem like I'm a crazy person, but in reality, we all do have these three voices. And the first voice is the child voice, and that's kind of our small voice inside of us, like, quit picking on me, you don't love me, or he or she did it. And then we also have this parent voice, and I definitely heard my parents use this voice with me when I was little, like you should do that or you shouldn't have done that. If you weren't so lazy, this wouldn't happen to you, those types of things. And then we also have what we call the adult voice, and this voice is used for negotiation. So the adult voice is, this adult voice allows issues to be examined really in a non-threatening way. So this is, we agree to disagree, or I feel comfortable talking in front of all of you, or I would like to recommend Freighter Hospital for your baby, things like that. So one of the biggest issues with individuals from poverty is the fact that children in poverty a lot of times have to act as their own parents. Either their parent is gone all the time, drugged out, drunk, something like that. So they have to act as their own parent. In addition to that, they might act as the parent to the younger siblings in the household. Or they might actually act as a parent to the parent in the household because their parent is just not with it. So, so particularly in discipline situations, a staff member, or I should go back. So, because they are acting as their own parent, they only develop these two voices. They develop the child voice and the parent voice. The adult voice just never fully develops. They don't have the concept of this adult voice. So in discipline situations, a staff member may really be tempted, and this could go for nurses too, if you're working with someone from generational poverty, and I'll give an example a little bit later, but if you're working for someone with generational poverty and they do something that upsets you, it's going to be really, really tempting to use this parent voice. You shouldn't have done that, don't do that in the future, whatever it may be. If you use the parent voice, then the person from poverty is forced to use either this child voice or the parent voice. It's the only two voices that they have. If they use the child voice, they appear weak and helpless. If they use the parent voice, the situation totally escalates. So it's really important for us as staff members to use the adult voice, because by using the adult voice, we're able to teach individuals from poverty words that they should use or the language that they should use for negotiation. So I'll give a quick example here. My boyfriend of 4.5 years, hopefully soon to be fiance, if you see him, tell him to get on that. But he currently works at Freighter Hospital as a security officer over there. And he has had several encounters with patients there who come in and they, don't really obey the rules, and so they're walking around and this patient's leaving his room. It's a grown man, he's leaving his room, and Dan's running after him. Dan is my boyfriend's name. He's running after him and saying, "You need to get back in your room. Don't do that. What are you doing?" And this man just blows up, just completely blows up. "I'm a grown man. How can you tell me, what to do?" I'm sure you all have maybe experienced a situation very similar to this. And this happens time and time and time again. At the hospital, Dan is always telling me, maybe a nurse says something, a doctor says something. We're not thinking ahead to use this adult voice instead of using the parent voice. So maybe something that you could say is, It makes other patients feel uncomfortable when you're outside of your room. What can we do to resolve that? And maybe that won't work, maybe it will. It's worth a shot. So I just think that's a really interesting concept that we have these three voices and maybe they haven't developed that adult voice yet. Okay, so all the program components that I just spoke about are from our phase 1, how our building stands now, the new beginnings that we have now. We also have set up phase 2 and phase 3. So we're looking for our residents to be in the program anywhere from 2 to 6 years. So at the 2-year mark, they would move into phase 2. And if we don't have another building at this time, then they would just be moving into phase 2, but not physically moving anywhere else. But basically what phase 2 is we want to continue to develop all these skills that they were learning in phase 1. And they might just have a little bit less direct supervision. So as the program stands now, our residents have a curfew of 10 p.m. They have to sign in and out of the building whenever they want to leave, even if they just want to go for a walk, because we just want to know where they are. And also put them kind of on a schedule. So in this phase 2, they would continue their schooling, they would just maybe have a little bit less direct supervision, and hopefully be moving into a new building physically as well. And then there's also phase 3, and this was never a part of the Denver program. This is something that we're trying to implement. So in phase 3, the mom and the baby would hopefully be assisted in finding their own housing. So we hope to connect with some sort of community partner who can help make this happen. Give the funding to us to make it happen, maybe go about it themselves, but we really want our residents to be able to move into housing that they can call their own. And then she would also be assisted in finding job placement or continuing her schooling and getting a degree that way, whichever comes first. And our long-term goals, that kind of coincides with our long-term goals, and I won't get into this in a lot of detail, but we want to develop partnerships with several Milwaukee area corporations, break the cycle of dependency for each mom and baby at New Beginnings and hopefully for generations to come. And then also branch out and create New Beginnings all over the country. That's really our dream. I think that New Beginnings are really needed all over the place. So hopefully we can make that happen. Okay, and now for the fun stuff. So I want to show you a couple pictures of our housing. If anyone ever wants to stop by, please just email me or give me a call and we can set up a time to do a tour. But because we're renting our facility from Wisconsin Lutheran College and it used to be student housing, they provided all the furniture for us. So all the beds were already there, basically everything we would need to set up the resident apartments, couches, chairs, the whole 9 yards. So this actually is a picture of a before picture, I should say, of our office. There's not a bed in our office anymore. It used to be a bedroom. So this is the after picture. And we did do all the painting. We thought, oh yay, this is gonna be so fun doing a bunch of painting. And then we got the first apartment done, and we still had, 3 units to go. And I can't tell you how many nights I was there really late at night painting. We're just glad it's done. But I think our office looks pretty nice now that it's actually painted. And that's me sitting there, and then also our assistant manager, Rachel. And this is the before picture of our devotion room. It was quite a mess when I first walked in there, and this is the after picture. So we have a piano. There's a very large table that's actually set up here that our residents sit at for devotion. And then we also eat dinner together on Thursday nights before our group sessions. We all bring a dish to pass, very well style. And this is actually not even a finished picture. The bay window that you're looking at, that wall is now sage green. It's really pretty. And this is a before picture of the kitchen and after picture of the kitchen. And then this is a resident apartment. So like I said, each mother will be sharing like a living room and a kitchen with another mom, but she does have her own bedroom. So that's the kitchen, and both apartments look almost exactly the same. They're basically carbon copies of one another. We decorated everything exactly the same. Not only because it was easier for me, but so that it would give a fair experience to all the moms in the program. And all the furniture that you see there, we do provide them with a flat screen TV. We are very lucky to get those donated. Baby swing, rug, couches, everything is completely included. So they don't really have to bring anything with them besides clothes. This is a resident bedroom, so they're all decorated exactly the same. They all look exactly like that. And then the bathroom And there's a little nook area with a rocking chair where moms can just hang out. It overlooks Wisconsin Avenue. It's just kind of a cute feature. And then meet our staff. So we have 3 paid staff members, including myself. So I'm a full-time paid manager. And then we have Rachel Enstead, which is the top picture there, and Bethany Shields, bottom picture there, and they're both assistant managers. They're part-time paid staff members. That's the only staff that the only paid staff that we have, and we are staffed 24/7, 365. So the house always needs to have someone there. So because the paid staff members are not living on site, we have our resident assistants. So the 3 students from WLC who are living in the home, and they are paid a stipend, but we don't count them as paid employees. And then we also have volunteers who can come and fill in staff hours and things like that. Okay, so what can you do? Well, you can, we can't really work with a waiting list at new beginnings, but if there's someone out there in the community that you meet or that comes as your patient or something that might fit our criteria, maybe give them our information, have them call us. We're always looking for individuals to come into the home. We actually have 2 open spots right now, so if you know of anybody, give them our number. You could also get your church involved. We have a Change for Life program that's going on right now, which is basically consists of ordering baby bottles from us. They're not real baby bottles, they have a little coin slot on the top. You hand them out to members of your congregation. They fill them up with spare change over a set period of time, typically Mother's Day through Father's Day. It's very symbolic. And then they bring them back in, and that money is donated to New Beginnings. So if you'd like to get your church involved with that, please let me know. You could also host a baby shower like they're doing today. I had no idea that this was happening. I think it's so awesome that you're bringing diapers and other items for New Beginnings. That's really great. You could also host one at your church. You could organize a fundraiser if you're creative and want to take on that task, or you could volunteer, and there are several volunteer opportunities, including mentor. I know that you're first here because you guys are all nurses, but I know that you're also here because you're Christians. And a lot of our residents don't know what that means. They don't know what it means to be a Christian. So you could come in and be a one-on-one mentor and really show them what it's like. Or you could get them involved in the nursing career or interested in a nursing career. So if you're interested in being a mentor for one of our residents, you can let me know that as well. Or a tutor. If you're skilled in math, which I'm not skilled in math, or skilled in English or something like that, and there comes a time where we need some sort of tutor to come in, then we would contact you. A general volunteer. So if you ever want to paint again, then you'll be on my list, hopefully not for a long time. But that's always an option. Or you can help fill staff hours, kind of like I just talked about. So you would basically just come to the home a certain number of hours per month or week, and then you would just be kind of babysitting the home and making sure that nothing crazy is happening. Or you could use your skills as a nurse to come in and teach some sort of group session like I touched on before. So maybe you're interested in breastfeeding or prenatal care, or the importance of vaccines or safe sleeping habits. That's really a big one. I know that they're spreading the word about safe sleeping habits at Friedrich Hospital right now. It's constantly kind of an ongoing thing because co-sleeping is a big issue. So that would definitely be something that you could come in and talk about. All right, that is all I have for the presentation. So I left some room for questions if anyone has questions. Yes.
I would assume the ladies are not encouraged to have visitors.
Yes, yeah, I didn't touch on that. So they are able to have female visitors that come in the home. We do kind of discourage that. We've had one resident in the home who has a lot of friends who always want to come over. She's constantly just wanting to have guests over, and I've had to have that conversation with her about how she's here to focus on herself. This is not, a social thing. But at the same time, it's good that she has support. So our residents can bring female guests into the home. That's fine. The visitors just have to check in. And then the female guests could spend the night only on a Saturday night. Our residents are also able to leave the program on Saturday nights and go stay with a family member or something. They just need to let us know where they are, give us the phone number and address of the person that they're visiting. Same thing I had to do with my parents, so it's kind of like that same dynamic. When it comes to male visitors, they can have male visitors, but they are not at all allowed up in the apartments. If they go up to the apartment, so we've had a couple males come in who want to see where the residents are living, fine, but we bring a staff member up, do the tour with the staff member, and then they can visit in the devotion area, the counseling room, or any of the anywhere in that commons area apartment, but not allowed up in their apartments, unless it's a father or grandfather, but no brothers, because I could say, this is my brother and it's not my brother, so I keep an eye on that.
When the mother goes to school, who cares for the baby then? Do you have babysitting services?
Sure,
or-
we don't have babysitting services, but we do provide our residents with the resources that they would need to get childcare services. So, I mean, they're not on their own, but we have jobs to do as well, like office work and things like that, so we try to stray away from offering to babysit the kids ourselves. So yes, they would have to find their own childcare. But on government assistance, I believe that you can get childcare for either very low cost or even sometimes in some cases free. If you don't have that, don't hold me, but so yeah.
At one time, how many moms are able to stay there?
4 moms. 4 moms. And it might seem like a really small number, but right now we have 2 moms, and it's been crazy. I feel like sometimes, they're really great women, but I feel like sometimes I'm kind of babysitting teenagers. It feels like teenagers. So I'm way above my time. I'm learning. My mom's going to be really impressed when I actually have a child and they're a teenager and I know exactly what to do. So it's definitely a learning experience, but 4 moms.
Was this a WLC house or apartment?
It's apartments, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're renting it from WLC and some students have lived there in the past. But I don't think they're renting it out anymore since they got the new dorm building. Yep.
What's your typical schedule for a mom?
Typical schedule for a mom. So right now, our moms aren't really doing very much during the day because they are so close to their babies being born. We have our first mom is due April 9th, and our second mom is due May 7th or something like that. So I mean, they're really back to back. So we're not getting them involved in schooling right yet at this time. So once they have kids, their typical schedule will be getting up, getting their kid ready, taking their child to daycare, and then going to school, and then coming back to New Beginnings for our 6 p.m. devotion. That takes place Monday through Friday, so the schedule would kind of be the same Monday through Friday. And then on Thursdays we have that group session, and that starts at 5 p.m. And then on Saturdays we have an apartment check at 11 a.m. that we check to make sure everything's clean and in order and things like that. And then on Sunday they would just be going to church. So, I mean, their weekends are pretty open to kind of do what they would like to do. We want to give them some freedom, I guess. Yes.
Do you follow up on any of the residents that leave your program, and excuse me, what is your success rate?
Sure. In Denver, they had implemented, we've only been in Milwaukee for 6 months, and we just started accepting residents, so I don't really have a clear answer for you right now in the Milwaukee home, and I wasn't involved in Denver, but I know that they did implement a mentoring program where they would follow up with the residents after they left the program. And I'm not sure what the success rate is. There hasn't been a clear answer on that. I know that most of the residents that graduated from the program were living a better life than they would have if they didn't come into the program, but to what extent, I'm not sure. But we plan on keeping really close tabs on that this time around and really following up with our moms. But at the same time, if they're not really turning their lives around and they're still stuck in the cycle, it's going to be really hard to get in touch with them.
How have they dealt with the fathers that come to see the girlfriends?
Sure.
And the child. Maybe not so much the Milwaukee home, but in Colorado. How have they dealt with that? Because normally they would like to spend a little time. How is that dealt with there?
Yeah, you mean as staff members?
As staff member, yeah, how do you deal, especially if you have a father that may be a little aggressive or,
Right,
not
right.
cooperating?
Right, oh my goodness. Well, in Denver it was the same setup, so they could visit in the commons areas, and then the resident could also go and see the father. If there's an issue with the father being aggressive or disrespectful or something like that, he's just not going to be allowed in the home. We cannot try to handle all those dynamics all at one time. So I think if that was the case, we would probably find that our resident would be saying, I'm gonna go either see the baby's father, or if we said, you know, I'm really not sure, I don't think he should be in your inner circle, I think he should be, you know, someone who, you know, maybe isn't a good influence on you and you shouldn't be, you know, going there, then our resident's gonna start telling us that they're going somewhere else and they're gonna go see the baby's father. We can't really put a stop to it, but if they're being aggressive or disrespectful, not allowed in the home. So we really try to keep that as a safe and positive environment. Yes.
Have you ever had a mom have to choose to move out because she didn't wanna
Yes.
go by the rules?
Yes. And we have also, in Denver, they had to kick a couple of moms out for, I mean, if you're constantly being disrespectful or not showing up on time or disobeying the rules, it's a very rigorous, regimented program. And if you're not serious about it, then there's gonna be another mom who's serious about it. So that was kind of their mentality going through. But they never really had any really serious situations with anyone, you know, doing anything crazy out of spite or anything like that. I mean, the most was posting something on Facebook that was not appropriate by a resident. Yep.
Tell us about your wish list.
My wish list, our wish list. Well, we have a wish list that's located on our website, and then we also have a Target registry with all of the needed items, and the first name is new and the last name is beginnings. But basically what we're in need of now is just diapers, newborn diapers. I think maybe some wipes. We could really use items for the residents, so like full-size bottles of shampoo and conditioner. We can always use toilet paper, cleaning products. We can use a van. We could use a van. If anybody has a van, they would like to donate. But yeah, all of that can be found on our website. But it's pretty basic stuff for the most part. So, except for the van.
Where is your funding from?
We get our funding from kind of all over the place. So the majority of our funding comes from individual donors. Christian Life Resources kind of works to keep us funded because they are a parent agency. But we do our Change for Life program through churches. I've been working on doing some grant writing, which is a very big undertaking. But that's come through for us in a couple of ways. Let's see. Mainly just individual donors. We really try to keep our individual donors base up. Yeah.
That Change for Life thing is really easy to do.
Yeah, it's really easy.
We keep the bottles from year to year, and
I love that. Yeah,
people are
please.
used to it.
I
and
like that you keep the bottles.
Right. I
you know,
have the youth group hand out the bottles on Mother's Day weekend, and then they bring it back on Father's Day. Or
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy and it's kind of fun having a little baby bottle just sitting in your house, and you can just throw your spare change at the end of the day in there. So.
And you provide information to put in the bulletin. And
Yep, we provide everything that your church would need. So posters, a DVD about New Beginnings. It's 5.5 minutes, really short, to the point. And then bulletin inserts, coloring sheets for little kids if you would like a Change for Life coloring sheet. We just kind of give you a master copy to make your own copies.
sometimes a school will, divert their chapel offerings,
Mm-hmm.
and then we do some education with the kids.
Right, yeah, yep. So yeah, our Change for Life program is really helpful. It's a great way for us to help raise some funds. It does cost a lot to support each mom and each baby at New Beginnings, primarily because we do supply everything that you would possibly need for a baby, everything, clothes, the whole 9 yards. And then we also are going to help fund their education. Obviously, they have a free place to stay as well. And then paying staff, I mean, that's a big, very costly, so.
I have an antique bath basin, one of those white ones.
Yeah.
And it was from, my mother-in-law bathed my husband in that, and so I make a little display in the narthex, and then people ask about that thing, and I said, well, that's where Dan was bathed, and,
Oh.
so there's a lot of, fun. When he was little.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm trying to picture this, and I don't know.
But it's a tradition, people
I love that.
watch for that every year.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, some people put out pack and plays
Right.
and have a baby shower, and people just bring gifts and put in the pack and plays, so. Because we do give our moms pack and plays as well, and they can take those with them when they leave the program if their baby is still young enough to have use for it, so. much for letting me speak to you today about New Beginnings. I really appreciate it.